We are live. We are live. Okay. That was quite an interesting start, but we have not gone live to one of the places we were going live to. Hang on.
You're not live on your Facebook page yet, David.
No. Okay. Give me a second. We're just going to have to go on the other Facebook page and this one, and I'll work out why it went wrong next time. It's on two different Facebook pages. Hello, everyone. Welcome to NeuroHub Live, and in classic David style, it's chaos already. I felt like, throwing back to the old days when we do all the live streams and that would happen, and we'd have a lot of fun with them. And it's actually, I think, how I got to know Charlie was through the live streams that we used to do with Academy.
Yeah.
And
David's Divergent Discussions, I think it was.
Oh, there was David's Divergent Discussions. There was the Academy Live.
Yeah.
There was. Oh, look, there's Adele. Hi, Adele.
Hi, sorry. Every time I sort of drop my phone, it switches off and and then I tried to edit my avatar so I at least had a picture on here, trying to put the NeuroHub logo on, but couldn't find it in my pictures, so I took a while. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. But anyway, I guess to start off with, we should probably introduce ourselves and give a brief audio description. So I'm David Gray Hammond. I am the founder of NeuroHub Community. Most people on Facebook and social media probably knew me back in my Emergent Divergence days and my Academy days. But I decided it would be fun to bring back live streams, so I'm going to try and do one of these a week for a while and see how that goes. I am a Mediterranean male with a kind of bald head, but not as bald as normal. A beard, a lip ring. I'm wearing thick rimmed glasses, an orange t-shirt, and I have a lip piercing and an ear tunnel. And I'm sat in front of a red brick wall, apparently. Helen, do you want to introduce yourself and give a brief audio description?
I'm Helen Edgar. I'm supporting David Gray Hammond in NeuroHub as Associate Director now, which is very exciting. And I'm very excited to be here. I am white, female, looking quite tired. My hair is tied back. I'm very hot and sweaty because it's probably about 35 degrees in this room at the moment. I'm surrounded by pictures, and I'm wearing glasses. And I'm looking forward to being here. It's over to you, Charlie.
It's great to see you, Helen. Yeah, we keep saying we're going to meet up for a drink and a natter, but we haven't managed it yet. But we live fairly near each other. So I'm Charlie Hart. I'm also known as Ausome Charlie with an AU for autistic. And I'm the founder of Ausome Minds UK, which is a proud sponsor of NeuroHub Community now. I thought Helen said quite female, and I thought, yeah, me too. I'm a little bit female. White female, yeah, with blonde hair, which is rather bedraggled at the moment, and glasses. And behind me is a mural with a rainbow, which people often think is a Zoom background, but that is my actual wall.
And Adele, do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, I will. I also didn't realise that we were actually live when I joined in, so you got a very live, real me then for the moment.
This is a neurodivergent live stream. We're here for it.
Yeah, we like authenticity.
Honestly, I'm so all over the place at the moment. I do apologise. My name's Adele. I'm also an associate director at NeuroHub Community. I'm also a website manager as well. So if there's anything wrong with the website, it's my fault. But just to describe myself, I have my camera off at the moment because I've had a very long, busy day and not feeling very photogenic at the moment, but I am white female, very nearly 50. Wear glasses, and I have long dyed blonde hair. It's blonde at the moment, but it's soon to be sort of gingery orange. It goes all sorts of colours. Yeah, and I'm currently sat in my bedroom trying to chill out and relax, and trying not to like be too embarrassing on this live stream.
Nah, there's no such thing as too embarrassing. We can always be more embarrassing. It's a skill we have as neurodivergent people. Um,
Embrace the cringe, and then you can be free.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about intersecting identities, the double rainbow, which I think is a pertinent topic given the time of the year, and I think we can, really get into this. And Charlie, I think you've got some slides you wanted to share to kind of get the conversation started. Remember, you can weigh in with questions and comments. I can pin them to the screen. So if you're watching and you want to get involved in the conversation, just put a comment of wherever you're watching this and it will come through to us and we can pin it to the screen. And so Charlie, do you want to take it away?
Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to just give a little bit of context first, if that's okay. So I discovered that I was autistic 15 years into a career in HR, where everyone is expected really to be super diplomatic and say the right thing all the time and have high emotional intelligence, whatever that might be. And I'd known that I was bisexual since I was in my mid-teens, probably, when I realised that being attracted to anyone of any gender wasn't a common experience for all humans. So I got quite interested then in diversity and inclusion and started doing presentations at work. And eventually I was so interested in neurodiversity, inclusion and other types of equality and diversity initiatives that I kind of lost interest in the day job. So 3 years ago, I became self-employed, thinking I'll be an HR consultant with the occasional speaking event, but it's far more the other way around. And what I get booked for the most is to talk about this intersection. So I think the thing is that there are a lot of people who talk about neurodiversity inclusion, particularly if they have ADHD. There's not so many autistic people who are happy to do public and professional speaking, I think. But the market is so flooded with ADHDers. And I got into the niche where I talk about the intersection between my ADHD identity and my LGBTQIA plus identities. So I'm bisexual or pansexual, depending how you define it. And I'm a tomboy, so I'm gender non-conforming. So I started doing this, and now I get booked for this more than anything else. And it's not even that there aren't other neurodivergent speakers who are also queer. I think it's that many of them, like my good friend David here, they share all those identities with me, but are perhaps not so much from a corporate background. So this is kind of my in. But I'm just going to really quickly show you the kind of thing that I've been talking about and the correlation and the impact as I explain it through my work. If I can work out how to share on StreamYard, because I'm not that used to it. So let's see if this works. So can you see my title slide there? Neurodivergence,
Yep,
intersecting identities. Yeah, that's working, isn't it? Yeah, so I'm basically a professional speaker on neurodiversity, and this is my niche topic. So I would define neurodiversity. I'm not going to do that here because you guys all know what it is, but I just kind of frame it as this isn't just a buzzword. It's a scientific reality. Neurological means about the brain, about the central nervous system, and diversity means variation within a population like a workforce. And that's all neurodiversity means, neurological diversity. And this talks about uniqueness. Every single human brain and mind is unique and different. We all think, feel, and process uniquely, but with some commonality perhaps between people of the same neurotype. But then also we can be complete opposites in other ways. And how this isn't a medical diagnosis or label. You can't be diagnosed neurodivergent. It's an identity, much like LGBTQIA+. And actually some of the key pioneers of the neurodiversity movement and the language, the lexicon of neurodiversity, are also autistic and queer. So looking at Cassian Asasumasu here, they coined neurodivergent and neurodivergence as an alternative to saying autistic or not autistic. They coined neurotypical as well. And they're basically saying that someone who is neurodivergent is diverging from typical. So it's about how far you are from normal, society's idea of normal, but it doesn't need any gatekeeping. It's an identity label we can choose if it fits. And then also you've got Nick Walker. I can't remember if I put a slide in about him, but he or she, he's used various pronouns over the years, is another pioneer of neurodiversity who is also queer. And neurodivergent, it doesn't just mean autistic or ADHD. There's a whole bunch of loose categorizations, and it includes neurological differences, but also psychiatric differences. And I'm not keen on that word. I'm in David's mad pride camp here. And neurodevelopmental and neurological things, or just you're just a bit different, like maybe unusually creative, or you have synesthesia, or some kind of the way your mind works is different from normal. So yes, I did put Nick in. So it's about having a mind that functions in ways that diverge significantly from the dominant societal standard of normal. So when we look at it like that, it's an alternative to normal, or what society sees as normal. You can start to straight away see the parallels between that neurodivergence and being LGBTQIA+, because there's this idea that people are the gender that matches the sex assigned at birth, and that they're attracted to people of the opposite sex. And if we don't conform to that, then we can be seen as weird and different from normal. So it's a very shared experience. And as I say, many of the pioneers of the neurodiversity movement were queer as well. And I would say that every time that I've tried to do this performance of normal, where I fit in with other women working in HR, and I don't say the wrong thing to people, and I don't come across wrong to other women and get my intentions misinterpreted and things like that. Every time I've focused on that stuff, I haven't been at my best. I've been very drained, and it's quite overwhelming. So my youngest, Jay, who's 14 and also autistic and queer, they say normal is just a mode on Minecraft and not even the best mode. And I love that. And I often quote the wisdom of Gen Z. But I've never passed for normal. I was a tomboy. I didn't wear makeup. I had short hair. I had boyish hobbies. I'm here having a go at ballet in a pantomime, but deeply uncomfortable. Far more comfortable playing guitar or doing taekwondo or bird watching. So I never fit in because I wasn't one of the girls. If Shania Twain says, "Let's go, girls," I don't go. So I'd probably be non-binary if I hadn't got all the way into my 40s before I found out that was even a thing. But all through my life, I'd had struggles that I thought were to do with being autistic, to do with being bisexual and being a tomboy, without knowing I was autistic. And the more I got through my career, the more of a struggle this was, the more overwhelmed I was by the performance of normal, until I realized I was autistic. So it wasn't all about being bi and being a tomboy. It wasn't even about trauma from being bullied at school for being weird and different. There was something concrete different about me. I was autistic. And yeah, I'd been trying to come across a woman abrupt and abrasive. So ignoring your sensory issues to dress like other people, having the neat hair and wearing makeup, managing with phone calls. Now I know that autistic people are allegedly not great at reading body language, but I don't know about you, but when I'm just speaking to a disembodied voice on the end of a phone, I find it even harder. Trying to do the right body language and eye contact, and not staring and not stimming, and a consistent output of work. And it's all very draining. And then you've got the fact that many people think of autism as being something wrong with us. You hear words like deficits and repetitive and insistent and fixated, whereas actually, let me fix that for you. There's just differences in how we interact compared with non-autistic people. And these other things that can categorize autism, there's not something wrong with them. So what if we like repetitive movements and speech and use routines and can be sensory sensitive? I get sensory joy as well. And those monotropic special interests, that's where expertise comes from. Of course, I have ADHD as well, so it's never that clear cut. But from my perspective, as soon as I realized I was autistic and probably ADHD, I started to identify ways that I could change the way I work, and others around me could change the way they interact with me. And then at work, I would be able to not mask so heavily and spend more of my energy on getting the job done. And it's not that difficult. It's things like clear communication, flexibility, make things as universally accessible as you can, but also look at the needs of the individual. Let people lean into their strengths, especially if they have ADHD, and promote an environment where people can be open about their differences and their needs and their struggles and their ideas. But actually, neuro inclusion, it's just considering different human needs. It's acknowledging that all humans have got their own needs and strengths. They're not special needs. They're human needs and everyone has them. But our lives are messy. There's never a human being who's just got one thing going on with them and just one characteristic. If we've got one marginalizing characteristic, we probably have loads more. Even if I wasn't BiPAN, the fact that I'm ADHD and undiagnosed and that's ran down in my family means that my upbringing was disadvantaged. My parents were disadvantaged. So social mobility and socioeconomic group come into it as well. And Audre Lorde, who is one of the pioneers of intersectionality, a Black lesbian disabled poet and activist, she said there's no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. So this is the kind of framing. I don't use the word intersectionality when talking about myself because I am white. I'm white and middle class. I know about my privilege. All I'm saying is that different people have different identities, some of them marginalizing, and that can combine to form particular profiles of marginalization and discrimination too. But my particular intersection of interest is the double rainbow. So this is when you're neurodivergent and LGBTQIA+. That describes me, it describes my kids, describes my husband, although he was brought up in a neuronormative way and had a bit of het lag, I think. And it describes most of my friends in the neurodiversity movement, certainly my autistic friends. We're on two spectrums. They both use rainbow imagery. The neurodiversity inclusion symbol is a rainbow infinity. The LGBT movement uses rainbow flags. And there's a huge correlation. So if we just look at sexual orientation, and there's a research note at the end of this, David can share, that's it's got a lot of research he did for me actually, and some more that I've done since. But there's various sources that prove that we're far more likely to be queer and far less likely to be straight compared with people in general. And most of the studies look at autism, but it's a similar story with ADHD as well. And then trans and non-binary identities, we look at diagnosed autistic people. There's something like 3 to 6 times more likely to be transgender and vice versa. But then when you bear in mind as well, people who have autistic traits but are not necessarily diagnosed or don't necessarily meet the diagnostic threshold, then that number is even greater. And if you look at gender non-conformity as well, so a tomboy like me, it's far more common in autistic people. And we've even coined our own words to describe that experience, like autigender and neuroqueer and neurogender. These are words that acknowledge that the way that we experience and present gender is intrinsically linked to our neurotype. So this is far more common. And we can look at the reasons. I try not to, because I really don't want people to work out why and then try and prevent it, because there's nothing wrong with being autistic and queer. But it could be that the social conditioning doesn't have the same effects. We're already weird and non-conforming. It could be that it's just one mask too many to sustain. It could be that we're really interested in queerness and exploring that side of ourselves and like a special interest. And it could be that one realization unlocks another. And again, to quote Jay from Gen Z, I'm really tripping over my words today, but I've been at my desk for far too long. Jay says, we're just built differently, deal with it. And I think that's perfect, because I really don't want someone isolating some gene that makes us neurodivergent and queer and trying to wipe it out of the gene pool. And we don't need to understand the why or even how it feels. We don't need to relate. So I think this is particularly powerful with non-binary and gender fluid young people. I don't think older people like me, and I'm 50, we don't need to understand and relate to that experience. We just need to accept each other as human beings first. So I have a trans speaker friend, Cynthia Fortledge, who coined this acceptance without understanding. And I think that's wonderful. Yeah, don't have to get it, just deal with it, as Jay said. And when you've got multiple marginalizing characteristics, then you have more experiences of discrimination, bullying, rejection, exclusion, masking. It can lead to anxiety and depression and burnout and trauma. And we call this minority stress. And it's not caused by our identities. There's nothing wrong with being neurodivergent and queer. It's caused by societal responses to those identities. We're not the problem. And if you've got more than one identity, like you're neurodivergent and queer, then this has a cumulative effect. We may have pressure to mask multiple identities. It may be that we're accepted within one community and not the other. So multiple stressors leads to compounding impacts. And it's the power of community that can help with that. So I had some consultancy last year from AJ Singh, who I highly recommend as well. And they framed it like this. When we have community power, we find people like us, and there's safety in numbers and safe spaces, then what we lack in systemic power, we make up for in community power. I think that's incredibly poignant and really, really useful, especially in the current climate with the rise in fascism, let's call it what it is. So this is why I really support organisations like NeuroHub Community and Autistic Inclusive Meets and other places where we can be ourselves and we're safe from being bullied and discriminated against for our gender identity, our sexual orientation, our neurotype, or any of the things that come with that, like any mental health conditions and alternative relationship structures, addiction, and more. So I'm not going to go through all these tips because they're very corporate, but it's just kind of framing how I've been talking at corporates and other organizations about these themes. It all comes down to having an open mind and creating a culture of psychological safety where people can be different. Different is okay. And we don't all have to heavily mask and perform this idea of normal, and we can actually get on with our work then and get on with being well and just be. And so Cynthia said understanding, acceptance without understanding, and my taking that a little further is affirmation over analysis. So this is my kids, Jay and Azzy, last year at London Trans Pride, and they're fierce trans allies and every kind of LGBTQIA plus ally and neurodivergent as well. And I just think they're absolutely fabulous. And they've changed their minds a few times over where they sit on the LGBTQIA spectrum. And that's completely fine with me. I don't need to analyse it and put them in some pigeonhole. I just affirm their identities and move and grow with them. And I'd ask other people to believe us and accept us and support us and love us for who we are. And you'll find this on NeuroHub website as well. But if you're interested in any of my writing around this subject, this is the QR code for my Substack. And this is my new company logo. So I was Ausome Charlie, but now it's me and Azzy, my eldest, working with me, and we may grow further. So I've changed the company from Ausome Charlie to Ausome Minds. And you can go away and read the research as well. And there's some book recommendations here too. And yeah, that's it with the slides. So.
And we're back. Let me turn on my camera.
Yeah.
I always like when you present that particular intersection, because for me, you talk about, you know, sort of coming to terms with being bisexual before you were coming to terms with being autistic. For me, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I don't think if I hadn't have come to terms with being autistic, I wouldn't have come to terms with being queer. For me, it was the realization that, you know, being different in any way is just being different, and actually all people are different. And so for me, it became less of a over the top kind of mind blowing thing to realize I was queer once I'd come to terms with being autistic, ADHD, schizophrenic.
Yeah, I followed your journey, I think, with that, because you wrote a blog really early on for AIM Rainbow, I think, about asexuality.
Yeah, well, I for a long time, I kind of saw myself as asexual, and then I've moved through various other letters, and I find it easier now to just call myself queer, because whatever I am, it's not heteronormative. I'm not straight.
The beauty of queer is how vague it is, I think.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of older people, particularly older gay men who don't like the word because it was particularly a slur aimed at them. But what I notice is that a lot of younger people like it because although they can embrace labels more than older generations at times, they also don't like to be constrained, and it's beautifully vague.
Absolutely. And I don't know whether Adele or Helen have anything they want to weigh in with. You are both on mute in case you hadn't realized, but if either of you wanted to jump in with any thoughts or comments, now would be the time. I think Helen's busy in the comments section over on Facebook because I can see the comments coming in.
Hi, yeah, I've been doing my usual. Oh, I'm doubled. I can see two of me, but it's okay. Which is ironic given we're talking about double rainbows and such like. I'm literally multiplying the screen here. Yeah, really interesting, Charlie. Thank you very much. You've had lots of affirmations within the text chat, lots of kind of hearts and rainbows and stars. If anybody does have any questions that they'd like to ask Charlie or David, then feel free. Yeah, I've just been sharing some links to your websites, Nick Walker's Neuroqueer website, and other places that people might want to look into, and Ausome Minds and Autistic Inclusive Meets. But yeah, I think we could probably talk about this all night. So yeah, I see Adele's back on screen now. So hi, Adele.
Adele, since you braved the camera, is there anything you wanted to jump in with?
I have raised the camera. Yeah, I personally, I guess it's something that I never really thought too much about, my sexuality, particularly growing up, and then, you know, sort of went into, I've always had heterosexual relationships, and it's never been something that I've particularly sort of looked at in depth, because it's not something that's ever felt like a challenge for me, although I would say that I'm pansexual, and also my family. So I come from an extremely neurodivergent family, and the way I was brought up was like, we were clearly very, very different from everybody else around us, but we were extremely open, and so older generations than me, very open about their differences in their sexualities and the way that they present as well. My dad would tell loads of cool stories about having long hair in the 60s and 70s and being wolf whistled at by men and then turning around and he had long blonde curly hair and quite slim, and from the back he looked like a very attractive young lady. So when he turned around and he'd go, "All right, lads," at them, he loved it. And you know, we'd have conversations about that. My mum, short hair, quite sort of she was I can't think of the word now, but she didn't really appear as either male or female. She was quite gender fluid in the way she looked. Yeah, she looked. She modelled a lot of her look on sort of early David Bowie. So she was that sort of, you know, that alien from space. So that was my upbringing. So for me, in fact, I'm probably really, really boring out of all because I've just had, you know, typical heterosexual relationships. But my kids are all queer, and I feel like I've lived in quite a comfortable little bubble, because it's never been something that the people around me, even my friends at school and stuff, I was very lucky that I had a really sort of open friendship group in that sort of sense. So I feel like I've lived in a very sort of like open, queer-friendly environment. And I feel really privileged to have experienced that.
That's privilege, definitely.
Really privileged, really, yeah. And it blows my mind. It really does still blow my mind that not everybody has experienced that, and that there's some real terrible experiences that people have just because of their gender identity and their sexuality and the way that they present themselves in society. It breaks my heart. Absolutely breaks my heart.
You see, I grew up as
sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I grew up as a teenage boy in Bognor Regis, which is just, I can't stand that place. I couldn't get away quick enough. But I was a teenage boy who wore skinny jeans, makeup. You know, everything about me was just the opposite of what was considered manly in that town. And I was victimized quite a few times, which is, you know, even now, there's still an element. And I think this is something that happens to a lot of us. I was sort of alienated from exploring my own sexuality. You know, it felt like there was a box I had to fit into. For me, it even felt like a big act of resistance to get that flower tattooed on me last Saturday. You know, and I think in particular for neurodivergent people, there is this element of everything is just about kind of alienating ourselves from our true selves. You know, it's either be less neurodivergent, be less queer, be less this, you're too much, you're too little. Nothing is like you are who you are meant to be. And
Can't
so
we just be? Let us just be, exist.
For a lot of us, you know, we grow up, I think, even if we grow up with like one aspect of our identity being affirmed, or even if our whole identity is affirmed by, say, our family, inevitably there are places in the world that will not affirm anything. And you know, it's like one of the things that I fear as a parent, you know, is that, you know, I look at my 3-year-old and I think, you know, I could give him the best childhood in the world, but I can't stop the world from being a horrible, horrible place. And that's why I think having these conversations is important.
It is, and I think
this is why I talk about
it's like a bit of a, sorry, Charlie. It's okay.
No, go
I was
on,
going to say, like, I feel like, you know, because we are in the autistic community and neurodivergent community and LGBTQ community and all of that, and it can be like, it's like a bubble, and outside of this bubble, like, life is really, really, really hard for a lot of people, and even like ourselves, like even when I leave my house, when I'm not online, my real life not online is really, really difficult. Fergus Murray this morning, they shared that Amnesty International had actually had to take down their 2026 update on research into the international anti-rights movement because they were getting threats. So that's kind of, you know, it's real, isn't it? Like this, like the risks are very, very real out there. Outside
they didn't stick to their guns.
So like, I think it's really important that we do have these discussions openly, and like, I'm delighted that, like, you know, in all the work that you're doing, Charlie, it's really important to get, you know, different voices and perspectives out there. It's really important work.
It's obviously deeply personal to me as well. It's good for my bank balance that I'm a well-known speaker on this stuff and the kind of person that people go to speak about this. But also it's a deeply personal mission for me. It's for the younger me that was misunderstood and demonized. It's for Jay and Nazi, because I want the world to be a better place for them when they grow into neurodivergent queer adults. And it's for Iggy, my firstborn child who didn't make it. So I know I don't know you very well, Adele, but David and Helen I've known for some years. So my firstborn ended his life at the age of 15 after being bullied for being weird and different and girly and effeminate, and he was definitely LGBTQIA plus, but still figuring it out, and he wasn't open about it like Jay and Azzy are. So it was a quiet struggle for him, and we didn't even know he was struggling. So he wasn't even school avoiding or anything. He kept going into school and braving it until it got too much, I think. So, and this is a fate that befalls a lot of young people, particularly boys, I think, that are autistic and queer.
This is why these conversations have to happen, though, because it's a matter of life and death for so many of us. And, you know, autistic people are at a greater risk for doing harm to themselves. We are, you know, more likely to also be somewhere on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum, which again increases our risk. So a culture of silence does nothing but amplify that risk. And so we have to have these conversations right now for people like Iggy, so that we don't repeat the sins of the past.
And we need the positive, visible role models as well, because it does have a ripple effect. And I for a really long time, I'd experienced some biphobia at work, and bearing in mind I worked in HR, so all my colleagues could look up everyone else's diversity characteristics. And I experienced biphobia and actually took my sexual orientation out of the HR system and went back in the closet. And it's only after Iggy died, and then I read Stonewall published top 10 tips for being an ally and why that mattered, why positive visible representation mattered. And that's when I started talking about being bi-pan and gender non-conforming. Because if someone as privileged as me that has already come out as autistic at work and hasn't lost their job, and I've got a very understanding family and friends. If someone as privileged as that can show that it's okay to be out, then maybe it has a ripple effect and makes things safer for others. But it's definitely harder if you're racialized as well.
And again, I would invite anyone who's watching, feel free to weigh in with comments or questions, and let us know what you're thinking. It's always good to have other people join in the conversation.
The comments.
The comments is an info dump of Hellenness at the moment, with links with lots of stars and hearts and rainbows from other people that are listening. I've just added in the Stonewall as well there, so thank you.
I'm going to share some of the hearts and rainbows we're getting as well, because they're lovely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess
I was hoping that Azzy would run. He's been struggling in the heat, I think, so maybe another time.
Yeah, and I think it's Disability Pride Month, isn't it? And I think with Disability Pride, we're talking about all sorts of pride as well, aren't we, here? And within that, like, you can't separate disability and your gender and identity and neurodivergence. We're just people, as you said. We're all humans at the end of the day. And
I have a very strong opinion here, because in May we have Mental Health Awareness Month. We have Autistic Pride Month and Pride Month in the same month. Then we have Disability Pride Month. I'm starting to think we should just have like a pride thing that encompasses everything.
Well, it's a shame that
we need to stop siloing all the different prides.
Yeah, like what we say about weird pride. It's not like it shouldn't, not just a 1 day a year. It should be every day, shouldn't it? Same as everything else.
Yeah, definitely. And it's worth pointing out as well that when we say pride, it isn't about showing off how queer and colourful and flamboyant we are and anything. It's literally the refusal to be ashamed of who we are. And I did my first actually international keynote in person last week in Dusseldorf in Germany. I've done so many online, but this was in person. And what I noticed is themes like having to hide and mask who you are, whether it's from the people on the panel who were LGBT or the ones from the neurodiversity network, whichever it is, they're all talking about having to mask and the amount of energy that took, and how there was a palpable sense in the room that if we kind of make people think they have to pass for normal all the time, that they can't possibly be doing their best work, because all the energy that they should be putting in to being engaged in their work or any of the aspects of their lives is just spent on trying to pass for acceptable human beings, when to me every kind of human being is acceptable, and we should be embracing and celebrating diversity, human diversity in all its forms.
I ended my talk at Autistic Pride on Saturday for Autistic Inclusive Meets. My closing line was something along the lines of, you deserve to feel pride in every space you enter, and there is no space you enter where you deserve to feel shame.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It just don't be ashamed, even when everyone else wants you to be. Just don't be. Like, who you are is enough.
Yeah, it can be easier said than done, can't it? But I think that's a really powerful message.
Definitely.
It's one of those things that...
I find it's easier when you're older. Like younger people, I think, and this is one of the things I fear with Iggy, that because he was younger, that younger people are more concerned about what others think of them. And then when you get to my age, like particularly if you're menopausal, you suddenly think, I don't give a fuck what others think of me. I'm just going to be.
I think, Charlie, it's community, isn't it? So like, I've been able to unmask like more over the past few years than ever in my whole life, just because I'm with people that I feel genuinely get me now and understand. And like just being in these more like, yeah, inclusive, like accepting spaces, like a genuine sense of belonging, and people genuinely just being accepting regardless of any labels they have or they don't have. You know, in Eurohub, we were just there, like we don't know everything about everybody's different labels that they may or may not identify with, but we're all kind of there for each other, and it's up to people, you know, how much they're feeling safe to disclose and everything. But yeah, so I've lost my thread of thought, but I think that's interesting.
Yeah, totally. That's why it's so important that we have these grassroots communities. As much as my working life is around corporates most of the time, but that, you know, that's why I wanted to sponsor NeuroHub community, because it's really important to have that mutual support.
Yeah, thank you. And do you find there is like a, do you feel the difference between like your corporate working life and the kind of online neurodivergent community here? Is there like...
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, everybody has to mask a little bit, I think. And when you go into a corporate, I tend to straight away introduce myself as my pronouns are she, they, and my adjectives are autistic and awkward as fuck. Because if I don't get it out of the way, I will spend the whole hour worrying that I'm going to drop an F-bomb. So it's, you have a certain amount of a palatable veneer when you go into a corporate space. And a lot of it is linked to the business case as well. So what I notice in the more grassroots neurodiversity movement activists, they tend to be more punk and more anarchy and anti-capitalist. And if you wanted to speak in corporates like me, then it's usually linking back to the business case. And that doesn't mean that people and their well-being and community and all that is less important than the bottom line and the financials, because I will link it right round again and say, unless your staff have a sense of belonging and they feel like they're part of something and their well-being is good and they're engaged in their work, then that's going to impact the bottom line as well.
Yeah.
But it will, I think that's one of your frustrations, isn't it, David? It's always got some kind of link to, but yes, but can we make money?
Yeah, it's one of the challenges
I do think with
trying to reconcile
in the workforce of the future, though, it's
trying to reconcile the inescapability of capitalism with my big Neil the Seal energy is challenging. If anyone's not seen Neil the Seal, go look them up. It's an elephant seal that comes to Tasmania once a year and just destroys the infrastructure, and the police don't know what to do about this seal. They've had to start setting up cordons and directing traffic around this seal when the seal has come to stay, because just has absolutely no care for the capitalist system or infrastructure. And that's the energy I carry with me, which makes it really difficult in corporate scenarios, because if I walk in and start barking and throwing myself against walls, they tend to, well, I spent a couple of months in a psych ward, and I don't really want to go back, to be honest. So, but yeah.
I'm just looking at Neil the Seal. If it's the same Neil the Seal, I think they've got over 230,000 followers on Instagram.
Neil the Seal is incredibly popular. All of a sudden, they went viral on TikTok, understandably, because it's a 3,000-pound marine animal that is destroying infrastructure and basically giving a middle finger to the establishment.
Yeah, he cares nothing for nothing for road rules or, bollards. He hates bollards.
Neil the Seal is to capitalism as Count Binface is to Nigel Farage.
Yeah, Count Binface is my current obsession at the moment. When I started working and went into the corporate world, that's where I was hit by the reality of my differences. I did not fit in at all, could not fit in for the life of me, and felt like I felt less and less of a person, and I felt like my self-esteem went, my personal self-value went, and the more I tried to fit in and speak their language and be that way, the more alien it felt and the more uncomfortable in my own skin it felt. My personal way of dealing with challenges and awkward situations or difficulties is to use humour, and probably really inappropriate humour as well. And that does not go down well in corporate situations.
And it's proper gallows humour. The number of times people at work said to me, "How are you? No, how are you, really?" And I'm like, hanging in there just to shut them up. But it's my gallows humour. I have another book recommendation actually for you that relates to what you were just talking about. So this is the Canary Code by Dr. Miller Kraslova. Chapter 8 in this is the story of when I didn't know I was autistic yet, but they tried to give me interpersonal skills coaching at work to teach me how to do small talk and banter and all that normal stuff, and how badly that impacted my self-esteem and my mental health. So have a look. It's a really good book on intersectional inclusion and belonging at work. And
that reminds me of being a newly diagnosed autistic adult. I was in my sort of mid-20s, and they sent me to a life skills course, which basically just spent 6 weeks teaching me how to use a washing machine. Now, guess what? One machine in my flat I don't know how to use successfully. Because not only did I not need to know how to use a washing machine, their attempts to teach me somehow helped me unlearn everything I knew about washing machines. And this is what annoys me as well, when people try and force, neurodivergent people to be more neurotypical, or queer people to be more straight. They just make us weirder. And it's not always the fun kind of weird either. Like, sometimes it's the I'm in deep distress kind of weird. And I think we need to stop trying to make people normal. Like, we're not doing normal. Like, I mean, I appreciate the work you do, Charlie, with going into those corporate settings, because for me, it's a real challenge. But we need people doing it, because corporate settings have been one of the primary places where people get normalized. And I realize I'm saying that as CEO of NeuroHub Community, but let me just tell you, that is just in title. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am making it up as I go along, and every time someone calls me a boss or something, I run and hide.
I call you boss as a sort of insult.
Yeah.
You see my reactions there, David. No, you're very, very, very good. We're honoured to be working with you.
Yeah, but my
eldest, Sassy, he's really face blind and really struggles with names as well. So every time I mention David, he goes, "Who's that again?" And I say, the tall bloke with the free dad hugs banner. Oh yeah, David. Yeah.
Yeah, I took a free dad hugs banner to march in London Pride one year, and I have never given out so many hugs in my life, and it was such a hot and sweaty day as well. I was like, I'm glad I'm bringing people. Yeah, I was like, I'm really glad I'm bringing people some happiness here, but also I'm touching like hundreds of people, and I don't like people.
It's interesting though, when I became a nurse and I did my nurse training, I found that a lot of the students, other student nurses, and then later on, actual qualified nurses and doctors fit very much, whether they know it or not, into the neurodivergent categories. And that, when you were talking about the gallows humour, Charlie, there's a certain type of humour that the medical professionals have that would not be acceptable in general public. And I don't know if anybody watching this is a medical professional or has worked with medical professionals, because you will know. and I think I felt comfortable in that environment because I could be myself. And that's probably why I thrived being a nurse. The pressures were huge, and the hours really, really long, and it's a very peoply job. So in theory, in theory, I should have crashed and burned long before I did. But I think having that ability to use humour to diffuse really stressful situations can work really, really well, and is perhaps not used enough in corporate settings. You know, you have to always be professional. You have to always be on guard of what you say and how you say it. And
I sprinkle some shocking humour into my corporate talks every time.
I have to almost drop stuff in like that. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm going to be the first person to mess up, because then it's done. And anybody else after that, you know, it's not going to be embarrassing for anybody else. Or quite often in, like, you know, like in training sessions and stuff, when they say, oh, would somebody like to speak? I will often just go, I'll go first, A, to get it out of the way and done with, and B, because I think nobody is going to be more awkward and embarrassing than me. So if I just do it, then everybody else has got a really low bar that they can easily jump over, and they're going to feel really good. So
that's a valuable public service there. Well done.
People used to say, oh, you're really confident and you're really outgoing, and I'm like, I'm not. I'm really, really not. I just hate that tension so much that I have to break it in some way. And if that means being the clown or the, you know, the idiot or whatever, then I'm happy to do that.
I'm really confident on the stage, but if I have to talk to someone in the lift on the way up to the event space or something, then I'm really, really not. It's, kind of so difficult. You know, when you walk down the corridor and everyone's holding the door open and you don't know how many times to say thank you, or you bump into someone you vaguely know in a supermarket in every aisle. All of that stuff makes me cringe, but I can get up on a stage and do a speech about my favourite topic and I'm full of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, last weekend I flew to Switzerland, spoke to a packed room full of people, but the minute one of those people got in the lift with me, I wanted to crawl out of my own skin and go hide under a rock.
Yeah. Totally
like,
how I feel.
I can talk at you, but do not talk to me. Anyway, we're sort of at the end of the hour, and I don't really want to go past an hour because I'm actually supposed to be off work, and so far I've done a really terrible job of it because I've been working all day. So, Charlie, it's been a really good conversation. I'm glad that you got to be our episode 1. That was serendipitous because last week it ended up getting cancelled, so you ended up being episode 1, and that was. I like using the word serendipity as well. I think it's a really good word. So serendipitous.
It's a great word.
But
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And for anyone watching, don't forget you can buy tickets to our Autistic Mental Health Conference where Charlie will be speaking. You can find those at neurohubcommunity.org. And they're really obvious now. Thanks for that, Adele.
I've been working hard on that all day. That website better not go down.
That website.
And Dr. Nick Walker, who I mentioned earlier, is speaking as well.
On the Friday.
Yeah, Nick Walker's talking on the Friday. It's going to be a really good event.
Try and catch that.
Yeah.
So, do go check out neurohubcommunity.org, see our conference and all of our other
3 days.
stuff.
3 days, really interesting talk from all sorts of people talking about all sorts of aspects of autism, and from professionals to lived experience. It's going to be amazing. I really can't wait. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. So thank you everyone who's tuned in. We've had a fairly steady stream of people coming in and out over the last hour, and no doubt more people will watch in the aftermath, or whatever we're supposed to call it. I call it the aftermath because it's just chaos. So, but yes, thank you.
Post the after party.
Oh no, I don't do after party. I don't even do the regular parties.
The glowing embers.
Yeah, the embers. Yeah.
Do you know what my after party is going to be? I'm going to go upstairs to a slightly smaller room with prettier lights and watch TV for the rest of the evening. Right. Well, take care, and we are
Thank you
back
very
next
much,
Monday with
everybody.
another live stream, which I don't know who it is because I don't want to look it up because that's too much effort. So I'll see you all next Monday, and good luck.
Thank you.